Hi Andres, I'm going to show you how to make sourdough, which is your starter, and this is mine. This is about 2 weeks old. This one here, I made a quick sourdough, which uses yeast. But I'm going to show you how to make your own yeast, only using flour. I'll give you a close-up look. I haven't fed it, but I'm going to feed it and show you what feeding means. So this is what it looks up close. As you can see, it's a little bit dry. That is actually yeast. Probably can't tell, but you can see the difference. That is the yeast growing on top. So this is what sourdough looks like, and this is your starter. It smells very strong. So if you don't know how alcohol is made, it's made with yeast and water and like whatever you want to flavor your alcohol with. I think this alcohol, well, if you make alcohol from flour, I think it's called soot or sookie or something like that. So to feed it, you put like a tablespoon of flour and then you just mix it through. You do need to feed it the amount. It's just like a baby. You feed the recommend for the baby. For an adult, you feed it the recommend for an adult. Same rule applies. And then you just add a little bit of water. So it's pretty much equal parts. Now I want to be honest, use whatever water you have. If it's tap water, use that. If you've got filtered water, use that. If you've got Kangen water, use that. Or spring water, go with that. As long as it's not really bad contaminated water, just use whatever water you've got. Like I said, as long as it's not contaminated. It is recommended that you put it in a glass jar. If you can find a humongous glass jar with a glass lid, I would highly recommend. For me, I'm just going to use my container because it's easy to open. And that is my only reason. It is recommended that you put it in a dark place, which I would, and that just sort of helps slow the process of the yeast. If you live in a really hot country, I try and put it in the fridge or in a cold place just so it doesn't kill the yeast, the heat, and it also doesn't make it grow really fast because it loves a very warm temperature. Now if you've never made sourdough, I would recommend you leave it on your bench so you can see it every day. Or if you want to put it in a dark place, then put a reminder or your alarm and you just feed it once a day. Like I said, the more that you have, the more you have to feed. I have 2 clear bowls so you're able to see. My flour is half and half, so it's half white and half wholemeal. So I've got half a cup in each. Mine is half and half, as I said before. However, use wholemeal flour because it has the whole husk and everything, which has more yeast. So get wholemeal and add a bit of sugar because I do want it to speed up. Here's your yeast, and this one has the grain, so that means this yeast has come from flour itself, which is grain. Now one of them is only going to have yeast. Put like a tablespoon or something in, showing you how to make it quick if you have a big family or you're in a rush or whatever. You definitely want to use your sourdough the next day. The process from scratch, and like I said, you don't have to add sugar, but I'm going to add sugar because I do have it on hand, but it will take a little bit longer. You need to nurture it for about 3 days minimum to 5 days max. Water, and you just want to use like warm water or temperature water. So I'm going to start mixing this first so I'm not cross-contaminating with the bug. And all you want to do is make a paste. It's good. So even though it's a little bit lumpy and all that, don't worry. The yeast is going to feed and it's just going to eat. So we are going to cover this up. Now we'll do the next one. So again, we want it to be a paste. You need to take care of it in order to survive. The Romans, they have their starter like in the actual walls. So it's a dark cave and there's walls, and it's like I think it's like 500 years old, these starters. What's it gonna look like? Let's get you some Glad wrap. So I'm showing you 2 ways how to make sourdough. Now you can mark it if you want. If you need to remember how to know the difference, I would recommend it if you're just starting out. We're going to look after them. I don't know if you can tell, you probably can't see, let me show you. But there's bubbles in this one, and this one doesn't have any bubbles. This one is already activated, which is quite interesting considering that it was only room temperature, it wasn't warm water. But that's the power of yeast. If you already have a sourdough starter like I do, you can put it on the tray, put it on the lowest setting and make sure it's quite thin, and dry it out, and you can make your own homemade instant yeast. Or if you have a dehydrator, you would do the same. And obviously to break it down, you just blitz it. So we're going to let this sit for about 24 hours, and yes, if it's good enough, the yeast, you can actually use it within 24 hours, but it's best to wait at least 48 hours. But we're going to nurture it for about 3 to 5 days, so you can get the best of the best, because no matter how much flour that you make, I'm telling you, it's much quicker than instant yeast, I feel. Like literally, it will bloom, it will rise within a couple of hours. And then when you add more flour to actually make your bread and then proof the second time, it literally takes a half an hour, less than an hour to like proof. They say it's the same with this, but I find that, you know, if you do the measurements right and you have a really good starter, it will literally like raise much quicker. And that's just my opinion, and obviously the temperature of the house. So I'll see you in 24 hours, and then I'll see you again in another 3 to 5 days, so you can see the difference. It's been 24 hours. This is the one without the yeast, and this is the one with the yeast. With closer inspection, you can see it's a little bit dark, like almost black. That means that it's starving, so we have to now feed it. You can, however, use them in 24 hours, but as you can see, there's not much bubbles as opposed to this one. So that's why we nurture it for at least a couple of days. So just put a tablespoon of flour, and you can see it's kind of sticky like glue. That's a good sign. This one, however, is much more runnier, just for the mere fact that it has more yeast. So if you know what snot looks like, or boogers, yeah, it's pretty much the same consistency. Just a little bit of water. Mix it around. Day 3. This is what it looks like. This is the one without the yeast, and as you can see, it's all nice and bubbly. We're just going to feed it one more time, and that will be day 3. But this one I'm going to feed for about 5 days, and then on the weekend I will make something out of this. This one here, as you can see, this is the one that had yeast, and it's still nice and bubbly. But like I said, you can literally make your own yeast just using flour. For this one, I will make something tomorrow. I'm going to make some hamburger buns. So yeah, we're just going to feed it. Give them one more feed, and this will be day 3. And this one we're going to use on day 5, day 6 to make something. 2 tablespoons or so in each bowl. And then we just mix. It's been 72 hours. This is the one without the yeast, and this is the one with the yeast. I'm going to make some buns using this one tonight. But this one we're going to save another 2 more days, and then it would have been all up 5 days max of nurturing yeast to make homemade yeast. And remember, this one doesn't have yeast in it, so it's yeast made from the flour itself. I'm going to add some flour. I was supposed to feed it this morning, but I forgot. I slept in this morning. So we're going to mix it. Mix. And see all this liquid? That there is from the yeast. So yeast, it spits out pretty much its own bicarb. And that's where you get the alcohol smell from. So if you didn't know, alcohol is made from yeast. I'm not going to add any water, but this is what it looks like. Quite slimy texture. Put the plastic on and let it rest for another 24 hours and then feed again. This is day 5. This is in the evening. It's been pretty cold today, and I haven't had the heater on, so there's not as much bubbles, but as you can see, there's still bubbles. You see in burst. And yeah, 5 days. We'll make something in a day or 2. But here's my buns that I made yesterday. So it took about roughly around 24 hours before I baked these, and these are so good.